Here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I gotta change my view.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There, what do you do?
Click on the, you can have a multiple.
Multiple
Flip it over
shots.
and help you.
Yeah,
No.
go to
I'm still on quarantine.
gallery view.
Are you okay, Liz?
Oh yeah, I'm fine, but we came from South Carolina and we had to quarantine
Oh.
because John wouldn't let us do otherwise.
So we're 6 feet apart.
Gino.
Oh, Michael.
All right.
Is this him with the face shield? Oh God.
Well, listen, are you ready? We're going to get started here.
Okay.
And the way that I'm going to start is I'm going to put all of you on mute. That way I can totally dominate the conversation. So,
Excellent. Great.
oh, hey, how you doing? It's so great to see y'all. But you know how this all works, everybody, right? So
Sure.
I'm the one who doesn't.
Are you going to ask us questions or what?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. I'm
Are
coming
you
to
going to
you.
ask who we are?
Yeah, well, wait a minute, hang on, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I have this letter here from the planning committee, and it says, "Dear classmates, we find ourselves in a very precarious
Did your
time.
video come through? No.
So much uncertainty. Anxiety and fear grips many of us as we shelter in place during this COVID-19 pandemic. Well,
Here.
in Florida, things are just going like crazy wild here. So
Speaker.
right now, we should be at Charlotte's Creekside doing the reunion thing. And we're just locked up in this pandemic. So I'm socially distancing. I'm not getting any corona cooties on you. But my question to you is, what about our school spirit? Is that locked up too? Huh? Is it? Is it locked up? Is it locked up? Is it fucking locked up? Is it?
Whoa.
No, it's not. We're here to fucking party. Yahoo!
Oh, God, what a piece
Disco,
of
disco lights. So,
from your internet.
it's also a happy hour
started a little
too.
early in Florida.
I went to Total Wine. They didn't have any Utica Club.
Oh.
So,
Bummer.
yeah. So I got some Molson. That was the best I could do. So,
Over sitting with,
so
Peace.
We lost Liz. Where did Liz?
well, what's going on? Liz will be
There
with us
she
in a
is.
minute.
There she is.
She's coming back.
Yeah, we can see you now.
She lost her internet because she's staying at the house next to ours, and she came to our table, and I think it was too far away from her connection, so she's going back. to the house.
Jerry. Wait a minute. Liz, John and Liz you're in Oneida?
We're in Sylvan Beach.
Oh.
Well, people still go there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they do. The People's Republic of Sylvan Beach.
Somebody say something.
all right, wait a minute. So
Look at all
listen,
that.
I want you all to talk. I want to hear from all of you, but just to like set you up, give you a little foundation, some things to, for your rap to talk about. I have a few things here, and with your permission, I'll go ahead and put them up if you're ready to, I want everyone to say hi first, so. But then you all get the chance to talk and, lay your rap on us. But so here's what I was thinking about, why do we even have a reunion? What is the point of having a reunion, right? So I think it's good to know where you come from. It helps to know who you are. I think we're all products of Oneida in some way, but it was 50 years ago. So what you remember about me is
Oh,
this guy,
Hey.
right? So that's the actual high school graduation. So,
oh,
you're not the same person you were 50 years ago. Life experiences, heartbreaks, triumphs, loss of a loved one, all these things, go into it. So I'd like to get to know the 2020 version of you as well. We're just gonna, I moved to Florida in 1978, and that's one of my highlights there. So if you can talk about one of your highlights, maybe that'd be pretty cool. But the fact of the matter is, in a blink of an eye, 50 years goes by. So
made up well, Michael.
Here we go.
that's pretty weird, huh? So where's Bob Moore? Bob, hey, there's Grizz.
There he is.
Grizz, all right.
I am here, Augie.
Hey, there's Bob. Good.
Can you see me?
I can. You look good.
Yeah. Briefly.
There's
So
Bill. I can see Bill.
Hey, Liz.
Guten Tag. Guten Abend.
And there's Jerry.
Guten Tag.
Bob?
Am I back?
You're back, Liz.
Okay, good.
What happened to Tom and Deb?
Yeah, what happened?
And I'm Stacy. Do you remember the exchange
Hi,
student?
Stacy. Yeah.
Hey.
Larry's there. Hey, all right.
Our granddaughter's name is Cecilia.
Yes, Cecilia.
Oh,
Did Grismeyer joining us?
She's
There's Tom and
stay
Deb.
with Liz.
This is Colin.
Hey, there's Bill.
There's Michelle.
Tom and Deb.
evening.
back.
Being attacked by our dog.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Oh, Denise.
Good. Who said that?
Diane. Hi, guys.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, Liz.
You're starting one.
Oh my God, you look like the best pep rally. What?
There's Kathy Klaus. Oh my God.
Kathy Klaus.
Cece. Wow.
Where's Kathy? Oh, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Hi, Diane.
when I put you guys on gallery view, you look like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. That young, huh?
How about Hollywood Squares?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's better.
Did you guys ever see that movie Love Actually? I mean, I watch it all the time.
Yes.
Real tearjerker. Hey! Anyway, it reminds me of that when you see all the little squares of everybody.
Hey, Kathy.
Who's that?
Visit
Hi.
my-
Kathy
My favorite
Klaus.
was Paul Lind.
Oh,
There's Paul.
oh.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know,
Paul.
when we're done, our pictures are gonna be like this big.
Bob, how you doing?
Your audio's
Sneezy. I
squeezy.
think that's Bob
Well,
Sneezy.
Where's Augie? Oh, there you are. So Augie, are you going to play your ukulele?
Well, I could, but especially now since we have Grismeyer here, I wanted to put up another picture if that's all right with you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It shows our
Hey, Tom, Deb.
Yep.
Hi, Bob. Whoa, I just lost people.
Oh my gosh.
My
Can you
God.
see that photo?
Was that the chess club?
No, that's the weightlifting club.
Notice the
you-
bulging muscles.
As you can see, it didn't
Wow.
work.
Yeah, there's Bob. There's Ron. And what I thought was interesting about this photo was we do a close-up here of Mr. Clary.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
Very
Yes.
funny.
Yeah.
Naughty boy, naughty boy.
Yeah.
Waving,
Yeah.
waving with the one finger.
Barbano was doing that in one of the other pictures too.
Nice.
Benny.
Oh, there you, Benny.
Attaboy, Benny.
That's pretty good. That's sticking it to the man, isn't it? I love it. The most absolute brazen one of all. Most over the top, right? Here we go.
So Augie, tell us who all is on the call.
Look in your gallery view and it shows the name, but,
Yeah, I got a small phone.
oh.
I see it. I see it. I can,
How do you do?
Okay, this is,
I can see it.
hey, Jesus, I'm putting you all on mute. Here's Otto Shortle, our principal from junior high, sitting next to Ted Haskell.
Oh, yeah.
And we kind of come in a little closer and Ted is fucking flipping the bird sitting next to Otto. Brazen, huh? Way to go, Haskell.
That's Ted.
That's Rascal.
All right, I'm out
That's
of
probably where he got that nickname.
Mm.
If I would get back
Hey,
So-
Bob.
oh, he had us off.
Hey,
Okay.
look, that's Kenny Rogers.
Really?
Right.
Hey.
He was in our class.
It's
So-
turn to the picture.
Hi, Bob.
Who's that?
Said,
Michelle?
Kathy.
Kathy, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hey,
Linda.
Deb and
How
Tom.
are you, Linda?
It took me a minute. Yeah, I'm good. Good. I take my
Bob
glasses off.
and I communicate often.
Oh, Kathy. Yes.
Kathy and I have a thing.
But with Barb, but of course with Barb
Yeah.
too.
What are you saying, Kathy? It's a threesome or what?
Yeah, well, that's up to you.
Barb, do you hear this? Kathy's starting already.
You guys live
never change.
together? I mean, not
Oh.
together, but
Well, Barb and Bob live together.
Linda.
okay, but Bob and Kathy.
No.
No, I
Just have
visit
a-
I visit Maine, but not this year. So
Yeah.
we
We have
have
a-
Maine in common.
I
Yes,
see.
mutual love for Booth Bay Harbor. That's what it is.
I was just there a couple weeks ago.
In Booth Bay?
No, I was in South Bristol,
Mm.
really close by.
Yeah, that's not far. Yeah.
I have a low battery. I got to plug it and move somewhere else. All right. It'll be all right.
Deb, is that your latest kid, your grandkid crawling by the camera there or what?
This is what we have. This is our cat.
Oh, that's the cat. Oh, okay. I thought it was another.
That's all we got left.
Yep.
Actually, Debbie and I are not from Oneida. We're from Shenandoah.
That's true.
One of the suburbs of Oneida, you know.
The suburbs. That's right, Jerry.
Right, you know.
And I'm not from Oneida either.
Oh my gosh,
Right, you're-
Cece.
Oh, no.
Oh, Cindy.
Cece.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
Did you
here.
see her?
Linda, you
She's here. Right.
What?
Did you get hit by the thunderstorms today?
Jetty.
Yes, terrible.
Lizzie.
You also live in Charlotte, right, Bill?
Yes.
Yes. Is it Linda?
Yes.
No.
It took me a minute to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Also,
Hey, Di.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Oh my gosh. Are you
I'm gonna
drinking?
introduce you to my
I have
husband,
a Jim
Oh,
Martini
Lizzie.
here.
Things are else.
Jed Sudeth.
hello.
Hey, Jed.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Can you see him?
Yes, we can.
Just go a little lower.
Oh,
A little lower. What are you talking about?
Oh,
a little risque there, Diane. How much lower do you want him to go?
Whatever it takes.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, you set me up for that one.
So,
Where are you in, where's Bob in Maine?
Winthrop, just outside of the capital, Augusta.
Okay.
About an hour up the coast.
Do you know where Flying Pond is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My sister.
And my daughter lives in Portland.
Okay.
Yep. But as a kid, I used to live in Booth Bay Harbor, outside of Booth Bay Harbor,
That's the cat.
in the summers. So that's why I've become.
Ah, okay.
technically he was in Edgecombe,
Edgecombe, right? Yep.
What's that?
It's a town outside of Booth Bay.
outside of Booth
Oh.
Bay Harbor.
Kind of like Shenandoah, you know.
That's right. That's right. Very similar. Very similar.
Right, Jerry.
Except not as wet.
I'm a double all dressed up. You know?
Jerry, you never age.
I know,
Oh,
really.
yeah. Yeah,
Just
right.
know, that's so true. So
No.
true.
I always look great.
I know, he looks the
I think,
same.
I think Jerry's voice has aged.
Yeah, my voice is damn right.
Jerry, you look 25.
Hey, I do have something to show that the guys we had to do back in junior high shop. Remember we had to make a dustpan?
Whoa.
I still have my dustpan. And we
I
made it.
didn't make a dustpan. I made candle sconces.
Oh, did you? Well, I made a dustpan. You know,
They're around here somewhere. I don't know where my wife put them, but they're here.
Wow.
I remember we were told we were making. I remember we were told we were making these for our mother. You know, so I still got it here.
I'd rather have the dustpan, to be honest.
Yeah, it works. It still works great.
Hi, Connie.
Hey, Connie.
Where'd she go?
Honey.
How's everybody?
Oh, Connie.
How are you?
Hey,
Connie
Hey.
Finley.
Hi, Connie.
Where's Mike Gullo? We see his picture, but, or
Yeah.
name, but not.
Mike,
for a second.
we can't see you.
Having video problems.
See his
Michael,
name.
The tech guy is having tech problems.
Yeah, the tech guy.
That's kind of ironic.
Yeah, where's
How's
our,
A million degrees here.
Here he comes. No.
where's our
There's
tech guy?
Yeah, how many people can you fit on the screen anyway?
I don't know. We're using the cheap version. I'm not paying for anything, so
So is
I'm
it?
just kind of mashing buttons till something happens.
It's about
Hey,
time
Augie,
to get on the-
Augie, how many people do we have so far?
It's like 16.
17.
Oh, we lost Bill there.
So Augie and Mame, why don't you play the ukulele and banjo?
I think
I
So
think
we
we
haven't
can
had time to rehearse.
18.
That's going to be for the reunion next year.
Oh, but we need a little rehearsal time here.
No, we didn't want to spoil the surprise.
Right.
Oh,
You're no fun anymore.
Oh, sure I am.
listen, it's important to know when to play. It's important to know when not to play.
Yes, this is the time not to play.
Everyone's a critic.
It's important to
Applies
know
to a
what
lot
to
of
drink
things in
and
life.
not to drink.
We take too long to take all the requests.
I know.
This is Kathy. I wanted to make apologies for Kathy Gaines Johnston. She was going to join, but I was FaceTiming with her this morning, but she said she was having some back problems and wouldn't be able to join, but she wanted to,
Oh.
so.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Aw. She feels better.
But she's doing well. She looked good, and yeah, we FaceTimed this morning, and we
Okay.
don't do that a lot, and I said we could do it more often, but then it's like, what do you have to talk about? You know, like how many, you know, it's like day to day, it's like, you know, so it's better to catch up after a while.
Right.
Oh, we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, right.
Kathy, this is Michelle. I wanted to say that I loved the kindergarten picture, and I think somebody asked why it was taken. Wasn't that like an end of the year thing?
It was a play. Well, I mean, it could have been at the end of the year, but
Yeah.
it was the kindergarten play, and that's why everyone was like dressed. Some were dressed up in costumes, but I mean, I guess it could have been toward the end of the year, but it was taken for the kindergarten play.
Okay. And it was the Lord's thing. Weren't the girls
mhm.
Lord, and you were the Virgin Mother, and
Oh yeah, please. Yes, I was the Virgin Mary. Yeah.
You're typecast, right?
Oh, I still am.
it's a great picture. I love that
Yeah.
picture.
And I'm still the devil. You know.
Hey, this is Liz. Do you guys remember when, I think it was our 20th high school reunion, when somebody opined, why did everybody's parents show up? Now,
Reunion?
why did everybody's grandparents show up?
Right.
Embarrassing.
Well, you know what? I didn't make it to the 20, I don't think. What, that would have been 19, no, never mind. The 10 would have been 1980.
Yeah.
No, so never mind. Yeah, maybe. But I know I didn't make it to the 10 because I had just had my son Andy. So, but yeah, the 20, yeah.
Yeah. Our parents
You were always so good at math.
here.
Where was that one?
She was the math whiz.
Yeah, and I can't add, yeah.
Is that the one at Lewis Point?
Where was the 20?
Or maybe
What, 20?
Verona Beach State Park when Mr. Perella was there.
Oh, one of them was at the state park.
I thought 20 was the mansion house.
The one we had at
the
Lewis
good
Point? Was that the one at
good
Lewis
mansion
Point?
house
That
was
was
Yeah, I think 10 was Lewis Point.
And John ran out of gas on his boat. Remember, didn't you run out of gas?
I think we had technical problems.
Yeah. Operator error.
I did make it to the one at Lewis Point. I do remember Lewis Point because
That was a good one.
yeah.
Where was that?
I think I've only been to 2 of them.
I thought 10 was at the state park.
Oh, was?
I like, that was a good
15
one.
maybe then. I don't know.
And that was the 10 was the one I didn't make. The Lewis Point one. Lewis Point, you know, my dad worked for United Limited, and that used to be the CAC.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, as a child, and my parents took me there all the time. And I don't know if any of you remember, they had a dance floor and they had a band. Actually, Penny and Lenny's father, Scoop, played the drums in a swing band. And my parents used to go and dance. And I would sit at a table and draw and watch. And they never taught me to dance, though.
Kathy, I'm surprised we didn't see each other there because my parents, same thing. And my dad, you know, worked with your dad at Oneida Limited.
Well,
And,
maybe we did. I you know.
I never saw you there though because they always went out at night and I had to stay home.
Oh.
I mean, when I was really little, you know.
Before you discovered the real beach girls?
Yeah, it came a little later.
That came a little later. Oh.
More.
I can't believe Mike Gullo is still not.
Mike, turn on your computer, Mike.
What's that?
Connect the computer part.
Yeah, the part where you can see.
All you got is the audio.
Guys aren't using much. I just woke up.
Turn your video on.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
camera on.
Lower left on the screen.
Maybe he doesn't want to be seen.
All this Botox and liposuction for the reunion, right down the drain. Jesus.
There he
I
is.
know it.
Oh, no, that's
There
Dennis.
it is.
I gave up on my diet.
Dennis?
Hey, Dennis.
Here's the Dennis.
Dennis Alder?
Howdy.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Hey.
Dennis, are you on the beach?
Paul Cleary, you're very quiet.
Well,
Dennis.
Who was that
Where-
that just flashed across the screen and said howdy?
Where does everybody
Dennis
live?
Alder.
Hey, Connie, how's Avalon doing?
Oh, very, very good. That's pretty funny, Bob. That would run right by you.
Yep, old age, you know.
And I was laughing too. I thought if I have a 16-year-old son, there's something fishy going
Well,
on.
I didn't want to question it. I wasn't going to bring that up, you know.
Oh man, we have unlimited minutes.
Oh, how'd you manage that?
Oh, open another bottle.
I know, just popped up.
what
Oh,
a,
that
what a
was Dennis.
mistake that was, telling us that, huh?
So Augie, are you gonna try and herd this bunch of cats so we can have some sort of a
Normal conversation.
opportunity to hear from everybody?
Yeah.
I think it's just about impossible. I'm looking at the gallery view, so I got Mame up here, then me, then Gino. You want to just go in order? You got something you'd like to share with the class?
Okay. So I live in Texas, but I don't have coronavirus, so that's a good thing.
Where in Texas?
I live about 50 miles north of Houston, and the county that we live in is really very stable. There's more cases being diagnosed, but they're mostly asymptomatic and 20 and 30-year-olds that went and hit the bars when they were freed. But we've been here since 1989, and I retired 5 years ago. And 2 of our 3 kids live here and with grandkids, so we spend a lot of time with them. And I golf and volunteer when I can, but they've shut down all the volunteer stuff. So now I just eat and drink and golf. So
Sounds like
I
the
was
perfect
supposed to
life.
be. I was supposed to be up in Oneida. I inherited a home from my dad in Oneida Castle, which we've maintained, and I usually go up there several times a year. And our hope was to spend about 6 or 7 weeks there this summer, but just not to be.
No.
Right.
Maybe in the fall, we'll see.
Different
You're
year.
in Oneida Castle, me.
On Castle Street, right across from the park.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's the only single-story house on the square.
All right,
Okay,
okay.
nice.
Bob Moore did the new design on that park.
Excuse me?
I think Bob Moore did the new redesign on that park, on the landscaping and a lot of the brickwork.
It
Right,
looks
Bob?
beautiful.
That is true.
Yeah, I don't know if some of you have been there lately, but the old Oneida Castle Elementary School is now apartments, and they're beautiful. You know, they've got probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 units there.
Yeah.
And it
What
was Oneida
school is
Castle
that?
Elementary.
Which school?
Oneida Castle Elementary.
Huh.
Mike, you got to turn your camera on.
So that's all I got.
That was purchased by Mead Construction
Right.
Building.
Bob, who
That's
did the ones at the beach?
headquarters.
Hey, Mame, it's
Yeah.
it's Paul Cleary.
Yes.
You look terrific.
Oh, thank you.
You look like everything agrees with you. I think that's great.
Yes.
What did you retire from doing?
I worked for the evil pharmaceutical industry. I was a medical affairs manager for Eli Lilly.
I don't think
Any
that's
good drugs?
Pardon me?
Any good drugs?
Well, there was a time when I sold Prozac, but no, once I got into the medical side, I wasn't involved in sales at all. We were more into sharing scientific information about the drugs we were developing.
Okay. And what's your husband doing?
He just retired he had a home inspection business, and he just retired at the beginning of the year. So this is his first full-time year of retirement.
And how old are your children and grandchildren?
Oldest is 43, next is 41, youngest is 35. And then I've got an 11, 8-year-old, and about to turn 2-year-old granddaughter.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay,
I have a
listen up.
question, Mame. Michelle, I have a question.
Yes.
When did you get the name Mame?
My Uncle Mike, who was married to my father's sister, Patricia, Mike Cheriton, who incidentally owned the house that I inherited in Oneida Castle. But my Uncle Mike was over at the house, and he had always called me Mame. It's an Irish nickname for Mary. And one day, Lynn McCarthy Denby was at the house and heard my uncle refer to me as Mame, and that was it. Thereafter, I always became known as
because
Mame.
I don't remember calling you that at St. Matt's, but
No, it wasn't until
sometime
ninth grade.
around middle school we started calling you that.
Ninth grade was when Lynn heard my uncle call me that. So.
Okay.
I remember Mame.
Yeah, I remember you, Cece. So nice.
I remember all of you.
Great.
You all look so good.
So
It's
do
so good to
you.
see your faces. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we remember
I have a theory about that, about people who show up to reunions, is that everyone that shows up to the reunion looks good because the ones that don't go.
That's a good one. Good theory, Kathy. Good
I'll
theory.
stay home with my Oreos.
I think I'm the exception to that.
No.
All right.
No, never, Paul.
Oh, stop.
All right, who's next?
Am I next?
Carol, want to go?
No, wait, I'm not.
Okay.
My little dog, isn't it cute? You gotta get that little dog.
Aw.
Oh, this is a wiener dog.
Who is that?
Cece, why don't you go next?
Yeah, Cece, let's hear from you.
I think it was somebody from Durhamville or Wamsville or something. I don't know.
Okay, I'm next. So I live in South Carolina, right on the border of North Carolina and Charlotte, close to Bill, I guess. And I lived in Ecuador for 29 years. And then I moved back here. I have 2 kids. I bet they're the oldest ones. My son is 48 and my daughter is 47.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So I got married as soon as we graduated.
Oh.
Wonderful. That's
I've been a
nice.
travel agent all my life, and I retired in Ecuador from it. After traveling all over the place, I went back to Oneida more than once, a lot of times, and I saw the Clinches. Of course, I was married to one of the Clinches.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
Yes, to
Which
the
one
oldest
did you marry?
one.
Which one of the Clinches did you marry?
Well,
Not Bill, right?
Not Bill.
No, no, Richard, the oldest one.
I don't know.
Yeah, Dick, he was the class of 67, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Okay. Are you still married to him?
Not to him, but
Okay.
I married another American, so that's why I live here.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. We're the best.
Yeah, we are.
So that's my story.
Well, and I would stick to it. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want you all to know, I'm going to ask the tough question. Okay.
I kind of expected that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Go for it. Go
But
for it.
hey, I got to tell you, Cece, it is so good to see you and to see the fruit of that student exchange program that went
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
when. You know, it's absolutely terrific. And here we are 50 years later. And, you know, I think the program did more than a little bit towards what it tried to do. Let's look at each other, you know, as friends, not enemies, not strangers.
Yes.
And I just think it's terrific. And I'm so glad that you came here.
Oh, thank you so much. I couldn't wait to see you. I was so devastated when the reunion was off. And
Yeah.
Well, you know, Cece, personally, I get that a lot. People saying, I can't wait to see you. You know,
I couldn't see you all.
and that's okay. We get that.
Oh,
But
good.
no, I just
Are you
throw
gonna come
the.
next year? Cece, are you gonna be able to make it next year?
I hope so. Sure.
Okay. Cool.
I hope we can all make it next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you have a date yet, Deb, Tom?
No, we don't have a date yet. Yeah, it won't be determined until sometime this fall.
Okay.
But the
Hey.
minute we know, we'll let everybody know.
Hey, Cece, we forgot to ask, do you have grandchildren?
Yes, I have 5.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, my son lives in Boston. He works for Harvard,
Okay.
and he has 3. 19, 13, and 7. And then my daughter lives here in Charlotte. She has 2, 24 and 19.
Wow.
Do you have any great grandchildren?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay. Wow.
I could
Okay.
have.
That is terrific. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Who's next, dog?
Who's next?
Jerry, you go next.
Yeah, Jerry. Wait,
Me?
you skipped Michelle. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. I live in Connecticut. I retired as an architect a couple of years ago, and now I took up a part-time job as a building inspector. So I'm still working 22 hours a week. Got the same wife I married when we were 21 after we got out of Alfred. 2 kids, a daughter 40, a son 36, 4 grandkids, 2 cats. That's about it, you know, pretty much a normal life. I think. You know.
What about your cars, Jerry? Tell them about your cars.
Well, actually, I sold my MG. I had I restored an MGB GT.
Let's see it.
One of these things.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
And I restored it, and it was supposed to be a daily driver, but it was like show quality, so I got a bunch of awards for it and stuff. So I sold that and bought a Jeep Wrangler. More easier to get in and out of, you know.
Yeah.
But I had that MG for like 20 years, and now I am, instead of restoring something, I'm going back to, I realized that being a building inspector didn't really take a whole lot of ingenuity. or creativity. So what I did is I bought an old 1964 fiberglass boat up in upstate New York, and I'm converting that into a two-seater little speedboat. And so I'm using a lot of my artistic ability on that and a lot of creative ability on it, and it's coming out pretty cool. It's taking some time, but it's going to be fun. And then I'm going to sell it when I get it done. So that's what I'm working on now. And I'm packing to go on vacation right now, so we're leaving for Blue Mountain Lake up in the Adirondacks tomorrow morning.
Beautiful.
It's nice up there, and we haven't been back in like 20 years, but we'd spent like 20 years up there when my son was 2, and we started when he was 2, and now he's got a 3-year-old, so we all decided to go back up and start the experience maybe over again. So,
Nice.
but anyways, yeah, we're
Sounds great.
still plugging along.
Hey, Chair.
Yeah. Thanks.
How's Jeannie?
How's my wife, Jeannie?
Yes.
Oh, she's clamoring for me to start the lawnmower so we can get it done before we leave tomorrow morning.
Oh.
But she's fine. She's still working part-time as the assessor in one of the local towns.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got an assessor and a building inspector in one house. It's a
So she's still with you?
Yes, she's still with me.
She's still putting up with you, huh, Jerry?
She's still putting up with me after all these years.
Jerry, why isn't she mowing the lawn?
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, she told me to start it, and she would finish the lawn.
Oh.
I mowed it. I had the big mower, so she wants to. It's 92 out here right now, so it's my face is a little red. I was just outside packing, so but I'll take care of it for her.
I taught my wife how to use the mower and the tractor, and she hasn't been on either since.
Yeah.
That was about 10 years ago. So
we were doing a retaining wall, and I found out that my wife could actually run a wheelbarrow. You know,
wow,
because it's pretty funny watching a guy with one arm and a wheelbarrow. It's never mind. Here she is. Okay.
He does have a wife. Hello.
That's my wife.
Hello.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hi. Wait, I gotta put I hate to do this. Put my glasses on. Is Tom and Deb there?
Yeah,
right
Oh,
there.
there you guys are. Hi.
And there's Liz and Augie and John came out. Oh, but everybody's here, you know?
I
So
wasn't going to show my face because we're in the middle of packing and I don't look like a reunion type picture, but I couldn't resist. So hello to everyone.
Hi, Jeannie.
we've been married since 21, so I don't know why she puts up with me.
Jerry,
to
this is Kathy.
Yes.
Do you remember why you called me mom in high school?
But I know we did, and I don't know why.
Well, it was because I had an ancestor whose maiden name was Waters.
Oh, that's right.
From Ireland. From Ireland, not, yeah. So, yep. I had a grandmother whose maiden name was Waters, and so you called me mom.
Well, my Waters is from England, actually, and my mother was Corcoran, which was from Ireland. So anyway, it's close enough.
Well, we could have been related.
We could have been related at a different time, you know.
Jerry, I just want to remind you, after the last reunion, you and Benny left a case of Old Milwaukee at my house, and I just finally finished it last year.
Oh. Well, we'll bring another one. Well,
Does it actually get good with age?
No.
Really old Milwaukee.
We didn't have Old Milwaukee, did
You
we?
most certainly did.
Oh, jeez.
Must have been desperate.
Riley, he never did have good taste, you know.
It's better than Genesee, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Jenny cream ale? No way.
Jenny cream is good, yes. Jenny cream.
Yeah, right.
That stuff will kill you.
Well, hey, that's
Jerry.
it for me. That's it for me and my wife.
Hey, Jerry. Jerry, where do you live in Connecticut?
We live in a little place called Collinsville, which was
Okay,
voted
yeah, I've got-
a very cool place.
I've got 2 kids in South Weymouth.
Oh, do
Or
you?
South Windsor, I'm sorry.
Oh, in South Windsor. Oh, yeah, you're just 20 minutes from me, maybe 30 minutes.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
Jerry,
I knew you had
Jerry,
something
I
on the
was,
show, I thought.
I was born in Manchester, and my brother was born in Willimantic.
Ah,
Oh,
you're
So
lucky
there.
you escaped Willimantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry, are you driving through Saratoga tomorrow to go to Blue Mountain?
Yes, we will be.
Yes. You want me to get on the side of 87 and wave? That's where we are now.
Sure.
You live in Saratoga?
Saratoga?
We do.
Oh, I didn't know
How
that.
long have you been there?
How long
This
have
is
you been there?
our 5th year.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Lovely.
both
Why'd
my
you
kids
move-
are here.
Why did you
And
move from Oneida to Saratoga?
both our kids are here.
Okay.
And, you know, our grandkids and the kids said, you know what, we sold the place on the lake. Didn't mean to, but it just happened. And moved to Saratoga, and we spent 6 months here and 6 months in Florida.
Oh.
But our son has a place, our daughter's on Sagandaga. Our son has a place on Scroon Lake.
Oh.
So a lot of times we go from Scroon the back way down through Blue Mountain and Inlet and Old Forge, you know, just because it's such a beautiful ride. So
It is nice.
you won't have to bring too much because it's hotter than Hades. Tomorrow's going to be like 97 here. So.
Yeah. Actually, I've got 3 12-packs in the back of the Jeep, so it's, you know,
You might make it then.
I make it up there.
Well, have a great time.
Oh, we will. We always do.
Linda,
Mm-hmm.
you're next.
Yep.
I'm next.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we moved the last reunion. I don't know if it was the last one or the one before. I think Mike Gullo invited everybody down to the lake, if I remember correctly. And I didn't make the last one, and I can't remember why. Maybe back surgery? I'm not sure. But we have 2 kids. Our daughter's 44, our son's 41. We have 4 grandchildren. Madison just graduated. Sad graduation with the coronavirus, obviously. And a grandson that'll be a senior next year. And then we have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we spend most of the summer going to baseball games. Lovely. And of course, things are very different in Saratoga this year because the thoroughbreds are all here, but the track's not open. And, you know, we're trying to stay pretty close to home because we still see a lot of different license plates from Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
Florida.
Delaware.
Maine.
Maine, yes. You know, I mean, people think that Saratoga is a vacation spot. And obviously with Lake George so close and the Adirondacks, it is. But other than that, life is good. Everything's great. So miss Oneida, though. Never gonna, I don't know, never leaves your heart. We just went back this past week hoping to see my dad. And unfortunately, ECF, after 4 months, had their first case of COVID. So it shut back down, and my mom's pretty down and out. But I keep telling her, you know, thank God that there weren't any cases there and that all of those beautiful people have survived. So, but was looking forward. It would have been a beautiful weekend at Creekside, boy. Oh my God, just such a lovely, lovely night.
Cece, is that Santa Claus with you?
Yeah, he's trying to help me because I can't see you.
Oh, is that Santa Claus?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, we can see you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, a beautiful
bad.
picture of you and Santa Claus.
Yeah,
Ho, ho, ho.
getting ready.
Oh,
Where's Sweezy?
Right here.
Another Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Oh, I shaved it all off though.
You see that?
Well, not all of it, but most of it. It comes and goes. It's an annual thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did.
It
Yeah.
mostly grows on the north side.
Yes, that's true.
I'll be right back. I gotta go start the lawnmower.
All right.
You're up to the
Got
plow,
time.
damn it.
Hey, Cece.
I might have to come back because I need more wine.
I'm out of beer.
There you
You
go.
too, Connie? How about
This
you,
is
Connie?
this a beer break?
I think I need another martini.
Hey, Cece, who's that with you?
I have a little bit left here.
My gin and tonic's empty.
I'm still in Virginia. About, where do I live? Like 26 miles from DC. It's hotter than hell here. It's going to be that way for the next week. So I didn't even go outside today except for water. I'm still working. But I'm going to quit as soon as they have a vaccine for COVID.
There you go.
I can't see any reason to quit ahead of time because there's nowhere to go. So I might as well make money.
Honey, are you a nurse?
Yeah, I'm a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
And I work at Micron Technology, semiconductor industry. So.
Are you an occupational health nurse?
Yes, I run a clinic there. Yeah, so it's good. They're nice to me. I've been there almost 10 years.
Wow.
But I'm looking forward to retiring. I've had enough. I got a bad case of presenteeism. I have a son. He's 35 and lives out in Denver. He's not married, unfortunately. He's on the river somewhere this weekend in his river raft. So he does have a girlfriend, so I'm hopeful. Very hopeful.
What's he do?
Pardon me?
What's he do?
He's an engineer at, it's called Sierra Nevada Corporation, but not the beer. It's involved in like government contracting for aircraft and secret stuff.
Oh, wow.
He's done that ever since he got out of college. He's had the same job.
Wow. Do you get out much?
No, not too much. Let's see, I was out at Thanksgiving and I haven't seen him since.
Oh.
So I don't like that.
I know. He's probably not really good about FaceTiming either, is he?
No, we don't do that much, but we do a lot of texting because he prefers that.
That's, yep, that's your son.
He sends me lots of pictures from wherever he is, or his poor, dog with cancer, or whatever else is going on, what feast he's making. So.
Oh, well, that's good. It's good.
Not bad though. Not bad for a kid, I guess. So, where I'm hoping I'll get to see him this fall. It's been a while.
Oh, well, let's hope the world changes by then. Good God.
Well, the idiots are wearing their masks. Stay away from each other.
I know.
And my son who lives in Denver, he just had his second baby, so our second grandchild back in March. We haven't seen her yet, so I'm not sure if we'll see her before the end of the year. So she might be a year old before we get to even say hello to her. So other than in FaceTime, but
that's sad.
It is, but he's really good about doing the FaceTime thing usually once a week, and so at least we have that with the other one. So
that's
good. Connie, is there anything else we need to know about your life?
About my wine?
Your life.
Life, not life. Well, you can see I'm hard of hearing, but other than that.
What?
And what would we all do without hearing aids, right?
Right.
You can hook up to Bluetooth. Not that much going on. Everything's so boring. But luckily, for my friends and coworkers, everybody's been healthy. But
good. Okay. Excellent.
I miss not having a reunion. A lot of things got canceled this summer, and my sisters were all supposed to have a reunion, sisters reunion, and that got canceled. So.
Yeah. Where is everybody now, Connie? Where's Bug and?
Well, Bug and Barb, Irene. Wait a minute, there's 4 of them down there. And Jean, they're all in Raleigh.
Oh, really?
They've been down there a real long time. Yeah, most of the kids were born there. And then Rosie's in New Jersey. She just retired from teaching. Leslie's in Gloucester. Dan's outside of Charleston and Mount Pleasant. And
Nice
Judy's
place.
in Tallahassee. I think I got everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big, wow.
And
big road
Connie,
trip.
this is Michelle, lived across the street. I think your beautiful old house is being made into apartments or something. Do you know anything?
I don't know. I haven't seen it in many years. Last I knew, it was just decrepit looking, and
Well,
that was enough for me. I
the
never
last
went
time I
back.
was home, they, somebody told me they were making it, redoing it and making apartments.
Well, there was a lot to redo. It'd gone into terrible disrepair.
Yeah, but that was a great house.
Yeah, it was a good house growing
It was
up.
a good house.
The
Yeah.
big old, remember the big kitchen table?
Oh, I was so shocked when I saw that table.
It was,
And you live
for
next,
12 people, 15 people or something.
we
I don't
had
know.
14, we had with each with 14 we could sit. Do you know that that table was passed on to my first cousin?
Really?
Yeah,
How
she had
cool.
she had 6 kids.
Wow. It was the biggest table you've ever seen in your life. I just remember that.
and didn't you live next door to the Navins?
Yes,
Yeah.
Another big family.
right.
We had like 30 kids in well, close to 30 in 3 houses with the McCarthys.
McCarthy's
Yeah.
were in that block
28
too.
total.
Yeah, it was insane, but you know what? It was great.
I'll
It
bet.
was fun. It was fun growing up. Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Right, John?
Absolutely.
And John lived down the street, not too far.
Not too far. We could always get a baseball team together.
Yeah.
Just wander down the street and see who's outside playing.
Exactly. Nobody worried about playing outside, that's for sure.
Or go
That's
down
one
to
good
Jack's.
thing. One good thing I've noticed, in the last few months is more kids are outside playing again.
Yeah.
And there's more people in our neighborhood walking and riding bikes and out on the trails than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And even just sitting on your porch and like cocktail hour, like across the street, driveway to driveway, it's like
parties,
you're meeting your neighbors again. And
Mm-hmm.
I live in a small neighborhood and of 23 houses, and I used to know everybody. And then, people, it changes. But yeah, now you see people and they go by and you socially distance, you wave and, but yeah, it's just like everyone's home now and you get to meet your neighbors.
Right.
Yep.
It is nice.
Yeah.
John, are you retired yet?
No. I had two full-time.
Can't hear you very well.
I had 2 full-time jobs for about 30 years. And I left one 4 years ago, which was I was county attorney for almost 30 years. But I've had a private law practice, which I still have. We're in the old Salvation Army building on Ferrier office.
We just lost you.
We got it.
So that's what I'm doing, 3 days a week. And we sold our house in Oneida or in Kenwood. And so I live here in Sylvan Beach for a big chunk of the year. And we have an apartment in Kenwood for a couple months, and we go to Utah 2 months out of the year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Are you with Tedesco?
With Tedesco, with your
Oh,
next
dear
your
God.
former next-door neighbor.
Oh, God, John.
John, what's in Utah?
We ski. We have season tickets at a place called Alta, which is outside of Salt Lake.
Oh, my gosh.
We go for March and April.
Nice.
So anyway, it's good. We have 2 kids, 38 and 36, 4 grandkids. Our son, who has 2 girls, and our daughter, who's 36, has 2 boys, 8 and 3. And
Where's
pretty
Sue?
good.
John, where's Sue?
Inside.
Oh,
She's she fully retired about 4 years ago. She worked for Hamilton College for about 20 some years after the kids got a little bigger. So we're doing fine, getting kind of stir crazy.
yeah.
We haven't seen our kids. Our son was supposed to, and his family were supposed to meet us in Utah in March. That got canceled. Then they were supposed to stay here a couple of weeks ago. That got canceled when the governor put in the quarantine. So we haven't seen my son's family since Christmas and our daughter's family since March. They're on our way out to Utah because we drive to Utah. So
Yeah. How about Andy? Is he still in the neighborhood?
Andy, oh my God, the recluse.
Yeah, where is Andy?
Yeah.
Are you
Is
talking
he
about
still
Andy
working?
Finley?
Yes.
Two,
Oh,
John,
the
is
reception.
Andy still
yeah,
working?
2 jobs. Yes, 2 jobs. But one of them is ending the 1st of August. He's a ER doc in the VA in Syracuse. And he's was at the urgent care in Fayetteville, North Med, and they're actually closing the urgent care, so finally forcing him into semi-retirement.
When did he leave Utica?
Oh,
Long time ago.
years ago,
Did
maybe.
he?
Yeah, Utica shut them down and brought in a big company, national company, which actually didn't work out too well for Utica.
Right.
But he's doing well, but he's a bit of a recluse. It's hard to get him out.
Really?
Andy?
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 No change there, right? We don't know where he came from in the family.
Connie, do you ever see him?
No, I saw him. When was I up there last, John? Last year, the year before? When Mike died. Was that 2 years ago?
I think so. Maybe even 3.
Wow.
I'm not very good on time.
We will.
Yeah.
Next weekend, there's a little golf outing in honor of his deceased brother, Mike, who we call the Beaver. And that's next Saturday, a week from today. There's going to be about, 15 or 20 people that get together, and Andy said he's going to be there, so we'll see whether he shows up.
Nice. Tell him we said hi.
Yeah.
I was going to say time. What is that?
Tom, you okay there?
Yeah,
Lost our setup here.
Deb fell asleep.
Did not.
Diane, where are you now?
I'm in the Boston area. I've lived in Boston for decades, and then just 2 years ago, I moved a little bit north, close to New Hampshire, Maine. So I'm about 40 miles north of Boston now.
What town?
Yeah, what town?
I'm in Newburyport area. I'm like a mile from Newburyport.
Okay.
Before I retired, we lived in Middleton, just down the road, not
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Are you retired, Diane?
Yeah, about 5 years ago. I can't even keep track of time yet. It's been at least 5 years.
From what, Diane?
Software sales.
Okay.
So what do you do to keep busy? I mean, before COVID.
Well, I was trying to travel a lot, and I actually had a trip planned in April that obviously got canceled. I was going to Estonia, of all places, because it sounded like something from a Marx Brothers movie. I had met some people in Bhutan a couple of years ago, and we were planning a trip there. And anyway, so I did make it to Maine like a few weeks ago, but other than that, I haven't been anywhere like anybody else.
About South Carolina.
That's true. Last September, South Carolina. We had a little mini reunion down there. Yeah, Liz has a great new place right on the marsh.
Ann Riley and Mo Navin and Marilyn Denby and Diane and I got together. It was
Oh,
great.
how nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, that was nice.
I
And I
have-
got to see Maine last year because I found she goes back every year. So we got together. I planned a trip back there because I knew she was going to be there in May. So
Yeah, you taught me how to make pies. Best pie.
did you like it? Did it come out good?
It's great. Yeah. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, but the problem is that I eat it. So, I got to stop baking.
You're entering it in contest.
Okay, Diane, this is Michelle. The thing I always remember, I remember a lot about you, but one thing that I always remember is the day that you brought a cow's eye to school.
Yo.
That's right.
It's only because everybody always asks for one.
It was the science fair.
Everybody always asks for one. I don't know why.
Cow's eye.
What's that?
And you brought a cow's eye.
It's because somebody asked for it.
Poor cow.
I remember that too. It was like I like 5th grade maybe, or I don't know,
Could be.
maybe.
All I remember is for 5th
I
grade, I think I made a paper mache volcano and I had incense inside it. And it was supposed to have smoke, but instead it lit on fire accidentally. That's what I remember, but. Anyway.
I think the cow.
I have to sign off. I have to leave. Okay?
Bye, Jared. Have a great
Okay,
vacation.
everybody. Hopefully, I'll see everybody next year.
Take care, Jerry.
Good idea. We should do it
We'll
more
be
often,
there.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay, see you, Tom and Deb.
Bye,
Have a good
son.
one.
Bye, son.
Great.
Bye, son.
Guys. Bye.
So Liz, how is the beach treating you?
It's beautiful. It's quite hot today at Sylvan Beach, but you know, compared to South Carolina, it's gorgeous. It's windy and just breezy, and the sunset is happening right now over the lake. It's pretty gorgeous. So
Nice. Did you buy a place or are you renting?
Renting right next door to, well, John and Sue own it actually, with Joe, their son. And so that's where we're staying for a month. So it's just to get away from the heat. So we live in South Carolina and at Edisto Island. It's a beach community. It's really beautiful for all but July and August, and it really sucks.
Right.
So, and met my husband, Jed, and prior to him, I went through a really nasty divorce, which I'm sure some of us have gone through. But anyway, that's behind me. And now via Jed, I have 7 step grandchildren, and it's lots of fun. It's lots of fun. But the only other thing I want to say is I've become a political activist. Lots of issues these days. Immigration, I'm looking at CC, social justice, racial justice, lots of things on my plate, and not the least of which is COVID and the way that's been mismanaged. I don't know if you all knew it, but finally my career ended up in public health. So that one bothers me the most. So, but I know we don't want to get real political on this call, but suffice it to say, I'm very active politically. Go on to the next.
Liz, it doesn't surprise me at all because no, seriously, it doesn't. Because I think you always had a strong voice about issues, even in high school, from what I remember.
There you go.
I mean that in a good way.
What do you say, John? What do you say, John? Do we have some good conversations over the 5 o'clock cocktail table?
We do, and we may have slightly different perspectives on some things.
I imagine it's pretty dramatic.
Quite dramatic.
I have only one thing to say, follow the science.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's it.
Liz, what was the name of the field exchange girl you had lived with you? And
Oh, Gisela Mendoza. She was not a real exchange student. That was somebody that my father announced one summer when he used to travel. And Diane knows the story. He used to travel for Oneida Limited a lot to Central America and South America. And he came home and one day and said to my mother and me, "So I've invited the daughter of Ellie Mendoza to spend the year with us." My mother said, "What?" I said, "What?" You know, anyway, she was delightful, and I totally lost touch with her.
For a while in the international division in Oneida Limited after Jake left, her dad, and he was renowned as Senior Jake.
Senior.
Caribbean and Latin America.
Senior, yes. We still have a lot of family friends down in that area. So that's me.
Okay.
Hey, Augie. This is Bob Moore. I do have to leave, but I just want to thank you.
Bedtime, Bob?
I just want to thank you, Augie, for putting this together for us. It's been wonderful, and looking forward to seeing everyone next summer. So thanks a lot, and everybody take care.
Bob,
We're hard work on this.
We'll see you later.
Tell us about you.
Cheers to everyone.
All right.
There you go. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Robert. Hey, speaking of cheers, Bill Grismeyer, don't you make wine?
No, that's when I lived in Austin, Texas, I used to make beer.
I thought you made wine.
No, I made beer, won a red ribbon for my Munich Dunkel in one of the local brouhahas in Austin years ago. My wife and daughter shut me down because they didn't like the smell of the beer in the house. So speaking of which, our daughter just got married last fall, and we just got over
Beautiful.
4th of July that she and her new husband they both left North Carolina, moved to the Los Alamos area in New Mexico. They both work at the National Laboratory now, but they had a gender reveal party for their first child. And so we'll have our first grandson coming up in November.
Congrats.
Wonderful. That's nice.
But like everybody else, we're going a little stir crazy. Isabel used to do a lot of volunteer work with hospice and some other organizations, and that's been pretty well shut down. I just closed out my year as the president of the Opera Guild of Charlotte, and my 1 year on the board for Opera Carolina. Isabel is now taking over in my role. So we kind of heavily involved with opera in the Carolinas. We come to love it. And let's see, we went to New Zealand and Australia on a cruise last January.
That's a great place.
Our European Amsterdam to Budapest got canceled in April. Our plans to go to Peru have been put on the back burner for a while. So
That's a good place. I made it there a couple of years ago.
we want to get there while we're still able to, get up the Mount Picchu and not die.
Yeah. Oh, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. No.
That's what Diamox is for.
Just where to go.
Well, I don't know how
How long
much
is
more
it?
time we have, so let's hear from Dennis. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, am I coming through?
Yep.
I think I put the mute. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I'm here in Verona Beach, and yeah, she's here too. And
put her on the camera.
I'll see if I can get her out here.
We'd
before
much
I'm
rather
done.
see her than you, but I just.
Oh, sorry.
So you don't live on the Cape anymore?
No. I got transferred. I was with the Coast Guard, and I got transferred down to Virginia. So I ended up my career in Suffolk, Virginia, and so we've been down there. We come up for summers here at the beach, and then go back for. We're raising our grandson who's going into 12th grade, so he'll be graduating next year. So we'll be able to stay up here a little longer. But other than that, yeah, I spent 29 years on active duty with the U.S. Public Health Service and the Navy for a little while. Actually, I retired in 2012 and started volunteering at a free clinic. And then that just got interrupted in March when the virus came.
Hey, Dennis, how is it raising somebody as a senior in high school?
Oh, yeah. Well, we actually adopted him when he was about a year old. And we've had him since he was 2 weeks old. But the energy level's a lot different. So it's because we have
the grocery bill.
yes, yeah. So we had 4 kids before him, 4 boys. The oldest is 45. The next oldest is 43, and the twins are 40. Yeah, we were busy there for a while. So
Are they near you, Denny?
let's see, I've got 2 in Connecticut, and actually 3 in Connecticut. One's in just over the Massachusetts border, but he's a guidance counselor in Connecticut, and 1 in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So yeah, so we try to get over there. They'll come here for the summer for a week, each of them probably. So we
And
stay
you're
in
where,
touch.
in Verona Beach or Sylvan Beach?
Verona Beach at the
Verona
camp
Beach.
that my mom had.
Oh, really?
Yeah, near the lighthouse. It's
Yeah.
on Forest Ave. Yeah.
Denny, I've ridden by there on my bike several times. I'm looking for you, but you're never outside.
I know. I must be.
What are you doing?
Must be doing. I don't know.
My parents used to rent a camp near the lighthouse when we were young.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was Ollie Woodcock used to own it.
Oh, yeah. That's just two in back of us. It's on Fifth Ave. Yeah.
I don't remember
yeah.
the Ave number, but we spent several summers there. Then we eventually spent our summers at Fourth Lake in the Adirondacks, the Fulton chain.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I used to go up
Oh,
there with my
beautiful up there.
grandparents. Yeah, yeah, real nice. But other than that, just basically staying put with what's going on now. So.
What's everybody think about all the things that are happening in Sylvan Beach with the casino and the India? I mean, do you think they're going to end up buying half of the beach up?
Yeah, I think that
I
guy
haven't heard
that
anything going on there.
yeah, the guy that owns the beach is kind of shady. I can foresee that going under at some point, and probably them taking it over. But now they just have DeCastros, and then they have a parking lot on the other side of. I guess they're going to have on the other side of Sylvan Beach to park.
Yeah,
the
because we
cars.
drove down through there the other day, and I said, I can't believe with the amount of money they're putting into that they're not going to take that whole Midway and just absorb it all, you know?
Owns the
Yeah,
beach?
eventually.
You
Sad.
said somebody owns the beach?
What, Liz?
The
Did you say?
John
Midway.
would know.
I'll talk to you later about it.
I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
So is the Midway open? Do those rides actually work?
No, they didn't open this year because of the virus.
They started to set them up, but then the governor, they didn't extend the appropriate phase, so they couldn't operate them. So they announced they weren't going to open, so they put everything away.
Well, they were pretty
Right.
scary anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, we were there today and looked at them and I thought, no, I don't think I'd like
I don't think I'm going to put my grandson in that.
I can remember when we were like 6 riding the same rides.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I can't believe they're
Exactly.
still going. I mean, when they're going, you know.
Listen, you guys, can we tie this up by hearing from our favorite master of ceremonies?
Yes.
Please. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Look at that Oneida spirit on them. Isn't that great? We're
That's
here.
right. Here we are.
Here we are, the old married couple.
We'll have our 50th anniversary in March, our wedding anniversary.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wow.
We have 3 daughters, and the oldest will be 49 in August, and 45 and 40-year-old daughters, and we have 10 grandchildren. And they keep us very busy. Everybody's local. Our grandchildren, our granddaughter, our oldest is 22. She just graduated from Clarkson University with chemical engineering.
Oh,
And
Clarkson.
yes, Clarkson,
Bill,
yes.
yeah, Bill, you went to
yes.
Clarkson. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I got my bachelor's and one of my masters there.
Yeah, yep.
Really?
She's 22, and then we have 8 grandsons, and then we have a 6-year-old granddaughter between the 3 of our daughters.
Wow.
So we're still here on Stone Street in Oneida, hanging in here. And we're very active, as you can see, with Oneida Sports, and 3 of our grandkids go to Madison. So we are constantly at, you name it, soccer, basketball, tennis,
Yeah.
all kinds of sports activities, keep us busy. We have a pool in the backyard this summer, so the backyard's called Debbie Land. Debbie Land is very busy in the summer. So we're very fortunate. Through the shutdown with COVID, 2 of our daughters work from home, but one of our daughters was furloughed. So she pretty much took care of us, did the grocery shopping, left them on our doorstep, cooked us meals and all that kind of stuff. So still keep in touch with a lot of local people. Trevor, our best friend, is still across the street from us. So see him and his wife quite often, and kids. See quite a few other people, but so we're still here.
Holding down the fort.
Holding down the fort.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul Clary, is he still on?
Yeah, there he is.
Paul, I'm sorry I didn't wear my mask today.
Yeah. I told Kathy it was a non-smoking meeting and that she had to wear a mask.
We also didn't hear from Michelle.
Yes,
That's
Michelle.
right, Michelle.
Michelle.
Last, I guess, but not least.
Good old
Or
work.
me, or me.
Or Kathy, we have to hear from Kathy.
No,
Okay,
you don't have to. You do not have to hear from me.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
No.
do. Because I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. I live with my husband of almost 20 years outside of St. Louis in a place called St. Charles. I retired from education quite a while ago. He's retired. I have two beautiful stepchildren who both live in Denver, and we have 4 beautiful grandchildren. And I got to go on a Disney cruise before COVID, which was hysterical, I must say. We're doing well. My husband is Canadian, and he's amazing, and he's hoping to get a new hip very soon because he's had some issues with his hip. So we're hoping that that comes through very soon. And I get to Oneida. My mom is still alive, if you can believe that. She still lives on Elizabeth Street, County, across the street.
Really? Wow.
She's 91.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, she'll outlive me, I'm sure. But I do remember Kathy coming over to your house when we were in, well, it was when the Beatles came. And so it was in sixth or 7th grade. And we wrote these stories about the Beatles. And I'm only telling you this because I have to tell you the second part. But we wrote these stories about the Beatles, and they weren't like love letters or anything to the Beatles, but they were stories. But we incorporated ourselves into these stories, you know, with them. And I liked the Beatles back then, but in my adult years, I became a real Beatles fan, Tom Stanhope. And I've been to Liverpool several times. I have a little shrine down in my basement with Beatles stuff. I've read every Beatles book possible. I've seen Ringo and Paul in person. But anyway, do you remember writing those stories, Kathy?
I do, and I don't have them anymore. I wish I did. And you know what? I was the biggest Beatles fan in those years, and then kind of moved on a bit. I mean, those were the only albums that I bought, you know, like in high school, and have moved, you know, kind of moved on. I do, actually, I've been doing a lot of jigsaw puzzles, you know, to pass the time. And I have I found some Beatles jigsaw puzzles. Yeah, and so a couple of them were like their albums. And yes. I have the vinyls. I have them. And so when I was doing the puzzles, I put the vinyls on my record player and was playing the songs that were going along with the jigsaw puzzles. But I actually don't, I listen to other stuff now. But yes, I do remember, Michelle, I do remember all that. And
I remember so distinctly sitting on your bed, and I think Kathy Gaines was there and maybe Martha, but whatever. One more thing, Liz Dyerman, do you still love to dance?
Absolutely, and so does my husband.
You were the best dancer in America. You were.
Love to dance.
Aww.
9th grade dances at St. Patrick's. Oh, one other thing. About last year, my sister and I were in Oneida visiting my mom, and she said, "Do you want to go in St. Pat's school and see what it looks like now?" I said, "Hell yeah." So we go to St. Pat's. It looks exactly the same. I mean, they've changed a few things and they've painted a little bit, but I said, "Oh my God, it looks exactly the same." And this is their 100th anniversary, 2020. They were built in 1920. Yeah.
Wow. My son, when he moved back to Buffalo, which he said he would never do, or he actually moved into a converted, it was a school, a high school or something. And so he moved into an apartment in Buffalo in a school, Oak Street Apartments. And oh my God, it was like moving, it was like St. Pat's. I mean, it was like moving like the stairways and his door. He actually had a school door with a number on it. And anyway, but yeah.
It took me back like you can't even imagine to see those classrooms, and they've really not changed much at all. And
do you have PTSD or what?
I mean, so Kathy, it's your turn.
Oh, I thought we were out of time.
Oh.
No.
No,
Oh,
we unlimited time.
You got Faye and Denise.
Yep.
Denise?
And Gullo and Bob Sweezy.
And where's
Yeah.
Gullo go?
Okay.
Where'd Sweezy go?
I have to go get a refill.
probably to bed. Yeah.
Faye, are you there,
I-
Faye?
Pardon?
Well, Kathy, go ahead. I want to hear about your
okay.
life.
All right. Yeah, I'll keep it short. I guess I now live in Boston, New York.
Oh.
It is about 20 miles south of Buffalo.
Okay.
And I worked, I won't go through everything that I've been through since Oneida, but anyway, so the more recent stuff is I've been in this house for 30 plus years, and I retired 3 years ago from M&T Bank. At one time I was a computer programmer, then an analyst, and retired 3 years ago. And I have a son who turned 40 this year, a daughter who turned 37, and I have three grandchildren. Eloise is 6, or is she 7? Anyway, she's going into first grade, if she can go into first grade. And then Natalie just turned 5 last week, and Miles is like 2.5. I'm here alone in this house. My significant other has had some health problems. Won't get into that, but he's like in a nursing facility right now. It's just yeah. Well, he's older than I am, but a bit. But I don't know. We're working through that. And what? Yeah, basically, I'm living in this big house, but I like it. I have a pool, and my son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter Natalie, they live closer to me, and so they have been coming over to use the swimming pool, and they use the pool, and we social distance and all that. So and they're coming tomorrow because it's going to be. Buffalo had 8 straight days of over 90 degrees. And however, officially, Buffalo area has never had anything over 100. So I don't know. I don't know whether we're going to set it this year. But anyway, so it's been hot like everywhere else that you've been saying. So they're going to come and use the pool tomorrow. And my daughter is in the New York City area, like in Queens, but her in-laws, her husband's family, they live in the Hamptons. So they live in the Hamptons, and they've been spending the entire summer out there with the kids, which is great because there's a pool and they're outdoors and they can go to the ocean, and so they're lucky with that. And my daughter tells me that they just put an offer on a house, I guess toward like Westchester County area, like north. So I'm hoping that once they close, I can move. I mean move. I'm not moving. But I could drive. I could drive there and visit them. With all the masking and social distance crap. But anyway, but yeah, it's just like I'm looking forward to, if they can get into that house, and they already had a couple houses fall through, so we're not getting too excited. But yeah, if they can move out of the city, and then maybe I can, visit, drive down and visit them. So that's it.
Is Mike Gullo still here?
Yes.
Mike, we want to see you.
No, you don't.
I want to see you.
Maybe
Please,
another
I wanna
time. I
see you.
have a very kind of chronic sleep disorder, and I sleep 3 times of the day.
Yeah, but you're not sleeping now.
Because I just got up just before I.
So,
Band here, Dave?
Mike,
Billy,
no-
what's happening here?
Say.
Oh, yeah, come on. We're all turning, well, I'm turning
Mike,
gray. I'm not
come
dyeing my
on.
hair anymore. Like, come on.
I was seriously looking forward to seeing you.
I've seen Mike. You really don't want to. See him. I mean,
Right.
I even seen him in person.
Mike,
Yeah.
I got to wait a whole year to see you.
Is Denise still on here?
the Twinkie Kid.
Come
The
on.
Twinkie Kid.
You guys all know the story behind the Twinkie Kid, right?
One of my favorites.
What's that?
The
Mike.
Hostess Twinkie, 6th grade. One of my favorite stories.
Got it. You want to tell it?
Sure, I'll tell it. So we're in Sister Hortense's 6th grade.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
What's your favorite?
And Mr. Gullo spoke up under his breath in the peanut gallery, and she wanted him to share what he said, and he refused initially. Oh, I can't possibly. And then she made him stand up, as I recall. And finally, he blurted out what he said, which was, "Eat me. I'm a
hostess Twinkie."
That elderly woman flew down the aisle and it was off to the cloakroom for a beating.
The cloakroom. The cloakroom. Oh no.
How did I forget that? I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that Sister Hortense was a germaphobe?
Oh yeah.
And she used to use a hanky or something like to open and close the doors. But isn't that what we all do now?
Yeah. She was ahead of her time.
I know.
So, Twinkie Kid, we want to see you.
I have one more Sister Hortense story.
Okay.
I can't hear you well.
Couldn't tell. It's why I'm going to hell. This is the story. I was an altar boy along with Macaulay and Barbano, and that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Reprobate.
Says a lot about altar boys.
That's why the church is in so much trouble.
There was no competition to get in.
They just put in new carpet at St. Pat's, and it was Sunday. We were serving communion, and I was carrying a little brass plate, whatever that's called.
Patent.
It's called a patent.
Kathy would know.
Patent.
Would know.
Patent.
So up and down and up and down.
Oh no! Oh no!
Come back.
We lost you.
Come
In
back.
suspense till next summer.
Yep. There we go.
Wash you it up and down.
So I was going up and down with my thumb on the brass plate, with my leather shoes, back and forth, up and down, and finally the nuns came, and Sister Hortense had this, this fat under her chin, and I touched her chin.
Watch it.
With the plate. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yep, we got it.
And there was this incredible electric arc. I shocked the hell out of her. She leaped. And I'll admit today it was on purpose.
John, straight to hell. Straight to hell.
And you're not going to hell.
I think that was called a waddle under her chin. I think it was called a waddle.
Turkey waddle.
Now we all got a waddle.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I've got a story about Monsignor Quinn.
Oh God.
Oh God.
You remember Monsignor Quinn?
Oh yeah.
So, do you remember the Feast of Saint Blaise?
Yeah,
Oh.
the throat guy.
Cross candles.
Oh,
in
the
front of-
fishbone.
Yeah, and they were
Throat guy,
lighted.
yeah.
They were lighted candles. They were lighted.
They weren't lighted. No, they were.
So my brother and I are kneeling at the altar, and my brother was quite young, Philip. And they come along, and of course, Monsignor Quinn is fairly ancient, right?
Ancient, yeah.
So they place the candles, they cross them in front of my brother's throat, Philip's throat, and he bites the candle. and Monsignor Quinn is shocked, and he says, "This little boy bit my candle." And when I told McCully that story, McCully said, "That's probably not the first time Monsignor Quinn said that." Isn't that terrible?
Candles weren't lit.
My
Oh, dear.
God.
Good old
Candles weren't lit though, were they?
That is a great story to end on.
It is.
Well, we still need to hear from Mr. Hetchlon.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Yes.
thank you
Good
very much.
answer.
Because we are going to wrap things up. We have one daughter who is 33. She's getting married next weekend.
Oh.
We're supposed to be married May 9th. July 4th weekend, we were supposed to go on a trip to Greece, including a cruise. So all that's been canceled, and I basically hang out at home and play with my dog and play my fiddle. And, you know, life is not really too bad. It's pretty good. It would have been a blast to be up in New York this summer. I'm sorry I'm missing all the fun, but it's really great to see all you guys again. Everybody.
Your dog's name Augie?
Michelle.
Is your dog's name Augie?
Our dog's name is Mario. We inherited him from our Aunt Trudy, who passed away in 2018. She named all her dogs after opera characters. Got that, Bill?
Got it.
Yeah, so he's my dog,
Hello.
and we have like an old age home for dogs here. They come here, and Aunt Trudy died, but the dog went to heaven. He gets to walk twice a day. He has a great life. So, everything is good, you know. Sorry I'm missing Oneida this summer. Really am, but what are you gonna do? But it was great to see everyone. I'm glad we had pretty good participation. Everyone got to talk, I think, right?
I didn't.
Oh, tell us
Right.
Tell us about
Paul,
Talk.
Heard enough of you in high school,
tell
Paul.
us about you.
Paul.
Come on, Paul. Out with it.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to speak. my good friend Michael Hetchlon from childhood. No, I live in Escondido, California. I professionally have been a social worker my entire life. I currently am a therapist in a nonprofit agency working with people who are generally homeless, unemployed, with severe mental illness, and several substance use disorders, or as I like to think of them, future national politicians. That's We have one son. Kevin is 30 years old. Kevin and I had a lot of fun growing up. I was his den leader from Cub Scouts, starting when he was a Tiger Cub in first grade, all the way through him being an Eagle Scout.
Right on.
And we had so much fun with him. And Mary and I we got married in 1979. We have been amicably separated since we lost the house in 2012. I saw her yesterday. And Kevin, our son, is living in Los Angeles with his girlfriend of 6 years. 6 years! You think you might have gotten married by now? No! And she is an actress, and she was in Mexico filming a Netflix series on Selena when COVID hit. So they're back in this little apartment in Los Angeles. And she is a real actress, not a porn actress. So
Good to know.
she is, yeah, right. She is in a movie coming out next month called The Tax Collector with Shia LaBeouf. So you might want to look for it. I understand it's quite violent.
What's her name?
Oh, her name is Noemi Gonzalez. Noemi A. Gonzalez with 2 Z's.
Okay.
Yeah, if you Google her, you can follow her and so forth. We absolutely love her, but we're not in charge of that. You know, if you push them, it's not going to happen. So I guess that's about it. My brother still lives in the old family homestead on Belmont Avenue.
Yeah.
And I talk to him a couple times a week. And that's about it. And thanks again for asking me to share. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten away with that one, Augie.
Do you see Barbano? You see
Hey,
Barbano
listen,
in California?
Hey, Barbano is out here. I talk to Barbano from time to time. I see him once in a while. He's doing great. He's a very resilient guy. You know, he's had a lot of stuff go on in his life. He's living in Lemon Grove. He writes his column. You know what he's doing now? He's taking voiceover training classes. Because he wants to be like a voice actor. No, I mean, he's always got something going on. I just love the guy. We have a lot of fun, but I got to tell you, I want to thank Og very much for putting this together. And I want to thank all of you. It's been absolutely terrific seeing every one of you.
Wonderful seeing everybody.
I want to do it again. And I have to tell Liz, you know who Ambrose Bierce was? Ambrose Bierce.
Author.
He was a 19th, early 20th century journalist who wrote a book called The Devil's Dictionary. And his definition of radicalism, the conservatism of tomorrow injected into the affairs of today.
I'm writing it down. Ambrose Bierce.
Ambrose Bierce, The Devil's Dictionary. Look up his definition of radicalism. The conservatism of tomorrow injected into the affairs of today.
Hey, Augie?
Yeah.
Is Denise and Faye still there? Or are they gone?
I think they're gone.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
They were on earlier, yeah, okay.
Yeah. We didn't get to talk to them.
No, okay.
No, I know.
Great to see y'all.
Well,
Bye.
Good to
Thanks,
see you.
Og.
Bye.
Yeah,
Take care.
Bye-bye.
thanks, Augie, for
See you
everything.
later.
Bye-bye,
See
everyone.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later.
How do I turn this off?